Exposed. The incredible moment when a judge revealed life-changing truths I never expected. Jake stood in the courtroom, the weight of anxious eyes pressing down on him. He felt the echoes of whispers about his struggles wrap around him like a thick fog. The townsfolk were here not to support, but to judge a spectacle brewed from the tiniest misstep of his son, Tommy. Today wasn't just about a court case. It felt like the final round for him, a father battling against the currents of despair. As the gavel struck, a hush fell over the room. Judge Harper sat high above them, her steely glare sweeping across the gathered crowd. For Jake, her presence was like a looming storm. He could practically feel the judgment in the air. His heart pounded in his chest. A mix of fear and determination coursed through him. "Your Honor," Jake began, but faltered, words caught like a fly in a web of emotion. He cleared his throat, the familiar scent of oil and metal swirling in the back of his mind. He thought of Emma and Tommy, his babies. He was living for them. "I just want to explain. I've done everything to make sure they don't feel my burdens." Out there, the whispers crescendoed, some heads shaking in disbelief. He could almost hear the townsfolk thinking, what does he know about being a father? It stung. Desperation surged within him. Before he could gather his thoughts, Judge Harper took a breath, a flicker of vulnerability crossing her face. "I understand hardship, Mr. Miller," she said, her voice trembling just slightly. The courtroom hung onto her every word like they were about to witness something significant. "I've had my own struggles. It might not be public knowledge, but I felt the weight of the world on my shoulders, too." The crowd shifted, curiosity replacing judgment as she shared a piece of her past. The tale unfolded like a well-loved story, one that resonated. It wound around themes of loss and loneliness, moments that echoed with Jake's own. As she spoke, he noticed faces soften, eyes that once held skepticism now brimmed with understanding. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now, let's continue. Jake's heart raced as he listened, an unexpected warmth beginning to ignite within him. He was no longer just the town's mechanic, he was more than the whispers of his failures. He pondered what he heard. Perhaps this would change everything. However, just as hope grew strong, a new tension drew the breath from his chest. Jake realized he had a choice to make, a choice that could shield Tommy from the stigma of those petty actions or lead him into further trouble. Flexing his fists, he felt the old grease stains imprinted on his skin, a reminder that, against all odds, he was still fighting for his children. Would he risk it all to protect his son from the weight of judgment? The gavel hovered above the bench, the silence electrifying. All eyes were on him, waiting for something, anything. The question lay suspended in the air, a spark igniting the hearts of everyone present. The next step was unclear, but one thing was certain. The outcome wasn't just about the case, it was about redefining love, identity, and judgment amid a closely intertwined community. Jake swallowed hard. The gavel loomed like a lifeline to his thoughts, and his palms were slick with sweat. Time stood still as he stared into the faces of everyone he'd known all his life. They were searching for the truth, but what truth could he offer them when his own heart felt like a carousel of doubts? "Your Honor," he finally managed to say, his voice stirring the air like the first chirp of dawn. "I'm not asking for sympathy, I just want to protect my son." The words slipped from his lips, raw and desperate. The room buzzed, the townsfolk murmuring among themselves, and Jake sensed their skepticism morphing into something else, curiosity, perhaps? He held on to that flicker of hope. It felt fragile but real. Judge Harper nodded slowly, encouraging him to share more. "I've always worked hard to shield Tommy and Emma from the troubles that swallow me whole," Jake continued, the tremor in his voice gaining strength. "I don't want them to carry my mistakes, my burdens. Every day, I wake up wanting to make life better for them. A silence engulfed the courtroom, thick with contemplation. But as Jake drew deeper breaths, he saw empathy growing in the judge's gaze. The glimmer of shared experience had sparked a bridge between them. He could feel the warmth reaching him. "Tell me more," she urged, her tone woven with sincerity. "This isn't just about them anymore. Tell me about you." The weight of her words struck him, anchoring him to the moment. "I'm scared, Your Honor. Scared that if I don't keep it together, it'll all fall apart. I lost my job at the garage for a while. I nearly lost my home. Yet, through it all, I wrapped my kids in love, hoping that'd be enough." Emotional threads weaved through the courtroom, binding people to one another. Jake glanced at the jury, observing heads nodding, even some hardened faces softened. For the first time, it dawned on him he wasn't the only one who had felt the fear of failure gnawing at the edges of hope. For a moment, he glanced down at his trembling hands. "This world is tough. It feels like it's battling us from all sides. But I need Tommy to know that he's not a mistake, that no one is just defined by a single moment." Judge Harper leaned forward, the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. "And you believe keeping this truth from him will shield him?" Jake's heart thudded in his chest. The truth was an unyielding beast that could tear through walls, but would it expose his son to the cruelty of the world? "I don't know," he admitted, his voice breaking. "I just want him to have a shot, to chase his dreams without my past holding him back. But maybe keeping him safe is what hurts him most." The judge frowned thoughtfully, clearly moved by his anguish. "Mr. Miller, protecting our children sometimes means sheltering them from harm while simultaneously allowing them to face the truth of life. It's a delicate dance." The tension in the room shifted. Everyone could feel it, a collective breath held in anticipation of a moment that might redefine not just a life, but an entire family. Before Jake could respond, the gavel sliced through the air with finality. "We need to take a short recess. I want everyone here to reflect on Mr. Miller's words before we proceed." As the courtroom began to disperse, the air thick with uncertainty yet illuminated by a flicker of understanding, Jake recognized the new weight on his shoulders. The gavel had fallen, but the real battle was only beginning. What would happen next? Could accepting the truth lead to salvation, or would it plunge them all into deeper despair? As he stared at the judge, realizing the weight of their shared burdens, he knew that the next decision could change everything. What would he choose? Jake stepped out of the courtroom, his heart still racing from the intensity of those moments. The sunlight hit him like a stark reminder of the world outside, and he squinted, trying to shield himself from its brightness. The chatter of the townsfolk formed a backdrop of chaos that contrasted sharply with the silence he felt inside his head. His thoughts spiraled in every direction, wrestling between fear and hope. He made his way down the steps, heart heavy. Emma would be waiting for him, her innocent gaze probing for reassurance. The thought of putting on a brave face for her twisted his stomach, but how could he tell her that everything was uncertain? How could he shield her from the storm brewing in his heart? "Dad." Emma's voice cut through the tumult. He turned. She stood a few feet away, her small frame illuminated by the sun, clutching a teddy bear as if it was her anchor against the world. "Hey, pumpkin." He offered a smile, though it felt forced. "What happened?" she asked, her blue eyes wide with worry. The innocence in her gaze pierced him. Jake crouched down, meeting her level. "They just needed to take a break, that's all. I promise I'll explain everything later." Her frown deepened, but she nodded. "Okay, but I made you something." She held out a crumpled piece of paper, doodled with bright colors. It was a drawing of their family, sun shining above and a rainbow arching in the background. His heart ached at the sight. "This is beautiful, Emma." "Thank you." He took the paper and squeezed her hand. It grounded him, gave him that small spark of hope he desperately needed. "Are you going to win?" she asked, her face hopeful but tinged with uncertainty. He paused, the question hanging heavy in the air. "I don't know, sweetheart. But I'm trying my best because I love you and Tommy." Before she could respond, Jake's gaze drifted back toward the courthouse. The doors creaked open, and the judge appeared, taking a moment to survey the crowd, her expression unreadable. An elderly woman stepped forward, her voice trembling as she addressed the judge, seeking guidance. Jake could feel an unspoken connection among the townsfolk, as if they were all embroiled in a shared struggle. Suddenly, an idea flashed through Jake's mind, a possibility, something he hadn't considered before. Community. What if he opened up to them, shared his truth, and invited them along in his journey? It was terrifying. Yet, the thought also filled him with a sense of resolve. He could no longer stay hidden behind walls of shame. Perhaps the next time he spoke, he could find strength in vulnerability and teach his children that it was okay to embrace their scars. "Let us go get some ice cream," he said, standing tall. "I believe we deserve a treat after all this." Emma's eyes lit up. "Really?" "Absolutely." He chuckled, ruffling her hair. As they walked away from the courthouse, hand in hand, he felt lighter, as if shedding just a little weight. But deep inside, the uncertainty lingered. Would they really understand? And what if the truth he finally faced held more surprises than he was ready for? The gavel had fallen once, but life had a way of echoing its messages. As they approached the ice cream parlor, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the next gavel might just shatter everything he thought he knew. What awaited him back in the courtroom? Would a single moment change their lives forever? And what would he uncover when he dared to unveil the truth? The jingle of the ice cream parlor's bell welcomed them with a rush of cool air and sweet scents. Jake glanced at Emma, her eyes sparkling like stars as she dashed to the counter, completely free of worry. The sight brought a smile to his face, even as anxiety knotted his stomach. "This one," Emma exclaimed, pointing at a vibrant scoop of bubblegum ice cream. The counter attendant smiled as she served it, and Jake couldn't help but feel a pang of envy. How nice it must be to be lost in simple pleasures, instead of being submerged in stormy uncertainties like he was. "Can I have a scoop of mint chocolate chip?" he requested, trying to keep his voice light. As he paid, he marveled at how a moment of joy could feel so far away. They headed outside, thick cones in hand, and soon found a small table in the shade. Emma launched into a monologue about her drawing, her fingers waving animatedly. He listened, his heart warming at the childlike assurance in her voice. But even amidst her tales, darkness loomed in his mind, threatening to swallow the moment. "Dad, are you happy?" Emma asked suddenly, looking up at him with those innocent blue eyes that held the whole world, a world he felt he couldn't fully share. He hesitated, scooping some ice cream with his spoon. "Right now, I'm happy because I'm here with you." The answer felt incomplete but honest. How could he explain the complex emotions swirling between moments of joy when clarity was so elusive? "What about Tommy?" she asked playfully, and in a split second, they both burst into laughter, imagining his little brother messy with ice cream. The laughter echoed, but it was laced with a bittersweet edge. The reminder of Tommy pulled Jake back as the image of his son loomed large in his mind. What would happen if the truth didn't just change his life? What if it changed Tommy's as well? "Emma," he said, suddenly serious, "promise me something." Her eyes were curious, attentive. "What?" "If things get tough, just remember that love is what keeps us strong, no matter what happens next." "Okay, Dad. I promise." She beamed, utterly sincere. As they sat together, Jake felt a surge of gratitude, tangled in with fear. He knew he had to prepare himself for the confrontation that awaited him, and he needed to be ready to face the truth head-on. Jake glanced back at the courthouse. It stood there, looming large against the bright sky, a monument of decisions yet to come. He could feel the stakes rising, see the twinkle of unasked questions in his daughter's eyes as they finished their treats. "Let us get home," he finally said, glancing at the sun, sinking lower in the sky. "We've got more surprises waiting for us." As they walked back, a heaviness settled in his chest. He had pushed through until now, but he knew the real battle lay ahead. The gavel would fall again, and he could almost hear it echoing in the back of his mind, heralding a verdict that could change everything. What truths would be unveiled when they returned to that courtroom? What revelations awaited him beneath layers of silence and fear? And could he find the courage to embrace his own vulnerability before Emma and Tommy, with the possibility of transformation echoing in their hearts. As they approached their home, the familiar warmth of the evening settled over them. The sky was painted with hues of orange and pink, a perfect backdrop to an evening threatening to twist into something far less safe. Jake's heart raced at the thought of what awaited them inside. Emma chattered away about school, her excitement bubbling forth like the fizz in a freshly opened soda can. "Can I show you my new drawing? I drew a dinosaur with a hat." Her laughter punctured the thick tension in the air, but Jake could only offer a half-hearted smile in return. He wasn't too sure if he could fully engage while knowing the storm was looming. "Of course, sweetheart," he replied, trying to match her enthusiasm. "I can't wait to see it." They walked inside, and for a brief moment, Jake allowed himself to get lost in the warmth of their home. The smell of baked cookies wafted through the air, a reminder of his late-night baking adventures with Emma when life felt much simpler. "Tommy," Emma called, running toward her little brother's room. Jake stood momentarily at the entrance of the kitchen, feeling the weight of the impending moment settle in again. He knew he needed to talk to them both, but how could he frame it so it didn't crush their innocence? As he listened to Emma's exclamations as she showed Tommy her drawing, Jake felt a pang of regret. His children had no idea what was brewing beneath the surface. How could he tell them anything before he had a chance to make sense of it all himself? "Hey, you two," he finally said, stepping into the room. "I see we have a dinosaur fashion show happening." He tried to tease, but his heart wasn't in it. Tommy looked up, his wide eyes brimming with joy, and Emma's smile lit up the dim room. "Dad, look at his hat." Emma laughed, bouncing on her toes. Just then, the phone rang. The shrill sound sliced through their precious moment like a knife. Jake's heart dropped. It was only a phone call, but it felt like a harbinger of doom. He glanced at the caller ID, and dread washed over him. It was his lawyer. "Hold on a sec, guys," he said, stepping out of the room. He closed the door behind him, the laughter of his children muffled but always present in the background. He took a breath and answered, "Hello? Jake, we need to talk," the lawyer said. The serious tone sent a chill down Jake's spine. "There are developments regarding the hearing tomorrow." Jake's breathing faltered as he leaned against the wall. "What kind of developments?" There was a pause that stretched uncomfortably long. "You need to prepare. This could change everything. We could have a firm footing." The hints of optimism from the lawyer only added to the weight on Jake's shoulders. He felt like he was standing at the edge of a cliff, the ground beneath about to crumble. Can we talk more about this later?" he mumbled, his voice shaky. "I need to get back to my kids." "Of course, but remember the truth must come out." Doctoring the sadness looming over their family while protecting his children felt insurmountable. Jake returned to Emma and Tommy, forcing a smile. "Everything okay?" Emma asked, noticing the tense line around his mouth. "Yeah, just grown-up stuff," he replied, ruffling Tommy's hair, wishing it could erase the weight he felt. The three settled on the couch to read a story together, but all Jake could focus on were the words swimming on the page. The reality of his situation began to congeal, turning his words into hollow echoes. The truth he was skirting grew louder in his mind, echoing the lawyer's warning. In the quiet moments that followed, the door to the future felt both inviting and terrifying, begging him to step closer. But what awaited him on the other side? The answer loomed only hours away, its shadow stretching long over their cozy living room. As he turned the page, he realized tomorrow wouldn't just bring a legal verdict. It held the potential to redefine everything they had ever known. What would tomorrow bring? Would the truth bind them together or tear them apart? The clock ticked softly on the wall, each second dragging along like a weight on Jake's chest. The pages sagged beneath his fingers, though Emma's voice danced around him, drawing his focus back to the present. "And then the dinosaur went to the moon," she announced, eyes sparkling with the magic of her imagination. "Wow, what a brave dinosaur!" Jake finally managed to exclaim, though it felt like he was only performing. He smiled, hoping it would somehow cut through the thick tension hanging over them. He needed to blend his worries with the joy radiating from his children, to keep their little universe intact, at least for one more evening. Tommy giggled, a small hand reaching up to grasp at the pages. Jake felt the warmth of his son's touch, a reminder of innocence that felt achingly precious. It was moments like these that made him question how he would break the news. Could he wait? Could he protect them just a little longer, even if the truth was barreling toward them like a freight train? "Can I tell you a secret?" Emma whispered, leaning in closer. Her conspiratorial tone made Jake's heart tug, a soft jolt of nostalgia washing over him. Secrets were sacred. They had their own kind of magic. "Of course," he replied, pulling her closer. "What's the secret?" "Okay, but promise you won't tell anyone." She cast a glance over her shoulder as if worried the walls might eavesdrop. Jake raised his hand in mock solemnity. "I promise." Emma beamed. "I'm going to draw a whole book about dinosaurs. I'll sell it and make $1 million. That's a fantastic secret. You'll be a millionaire before we know it." Jake laughed, his insides nodding as he dreamt of those money-filled scenarios, but was pulled back into reality by his rushing thoughts. Just then, there was a rap on the front door that startled them all. Jake's heart dropped, then raced. Could it be their mother? The dread settled heavier in his gut. Visits were rare, usually disastrous. "Who is it?" Emma chirped, her curiosity piqued. Jake hesitated, exchanging a quick glance with Tommy, who seemed oblivious to the tension. I'll check," he said, and as he made his way to the door, he mentally prepared himself for whatever he might face on the other side: good news, bad news, or something altogether unexpected. His hand rested hesitantly on the doorknob, his heartbeat thudding loudly in his ears. He took a breath, steeling himself, and swung the door open. To his surprise, standing before him was a tall figure in a dark suit, the silhouette of a messenger delivering the day's hard truths. Jake didn't recognize him. Tension zapped in the air as he took in the stranger's serious expression. "Mr. Collins?" the man asked, his voice steady and authoritative. "We need to talk about tomorrow's hearing." Time froze. Jake swallowed hard, feeling the dread return in waves. Yeah, he stammered, trying to process the sudden shift. "I was just about to, I didn't think, may I come in?" the man asked, stepping slightly into the threshold. The subtle weight of his presence filled the room, and Jake's instincts screamed at him to shield his children from whatever darkness hung at the door. "Wait." He blocked the entrance, uncertainty flashing across his face. "Can this wait until later?" "I have my kids, sir," the messenger interjected. "This is crucial." Caught in the riptide of worry and urgency, Jake's mind reeled. What could possibly come next? How much more could he shield them from? He glanced back at Emma and Tommy, their innocent faces lit with the glow of a sweet family memory. A swirling chaos of emotions fought for dominance within him: love, fear, and the gnawing reality of what was coming. Jake took a deep breath and stepped aside reluctantly. The chill of the outside world drifted in like a whisper of despair, and he felt that it wouldn't be long before the truth found its way to them all. "Okay," he finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Let us talk." As he closed the door behind him, the weight of the world pressed down tighter. The last remnants of that childhood dream dissolved into an uncertain fog. What awaited him in the conversation ahead? What truths would finally emerge, truths that could shatter everything or somehow hold them together? He felt the air grow heavy. Jake braced himself, knowing that this moment would set into motion a chain of events he could not take back, but he had to face it head-on. And yet, as he looked to the future, he couldn't shake the feeling that the most unexpected truth was still hidden somewhere in the shadows. The messenger stepped into the living room, his polished shoes making soft sounds on the hardwood floor. The air felt thick, charged with the unspoken weight of what Jake sensed was about to happen. He motioned for the man to take a seat, feeling the pulse in his neck quickening as he watched the stranger settle into one of the worn-out chairs. "Mr. Collins, this is regarding the custody case," the man began, his eyes piercing with an intensity that made Jake squirm. "I have some information that can change the trajectory of everything." Jake leaned forward, instinctively holding on to the seat of the chair, as if it could anchor him through the storm. "What do you mean?" he asked, the words escaping as a desperate whisper. The messenger took a breath, and Jake noticed his jaw tighten for a fraction of a second. There's evidence that has surfaced contradictory statements that may influence the judge's decision. Your ex-wife has allies who are he paused, assessing Jake's reaction, gathering information that could undermine your case. The bottom dropped out of Jake's stomach. He'd always known the fight ahead would be difficult, that his past had not been one of peace, but hearing it laid out so bluntly felt like being punched in the gut. Are you serious? Jake managed to say, his voice trembling. What kind of evidence? What did she say? The man's expression softened slightly, though it remained somber. There are accusations regarding your ability to care for the children. There's also talk of disturbing incidents from your past that she's planning to bring up. It's meant to shake your credibility. Jake felt a wave of heat flood his face. Memories surged in like stormy waves, confrontations, pain, all things he'd fought hard to bury. Those are lies. I've worked hard to change. I know, the stranger replied. But perception is powerful. You need to be prepared. Clarify your story, make sure you can bring forth your evidence. In that moment, Jake's mind began racing. Could he truly battle against her web of lies? What evidence could he present? He thought of nights spent comforting Tommy after nightmares, moments shared with Emma as they painted and laughed. Those memories seemed to clash with the shadows of a past life that threatened to resurface. Jake, the messenger's tone shifted, grabbing his attention. I know this is overwhelming, but you have to protect your children at all costs. Jake nodded, fire igniting within him. The thought of losing them tightened a fist around his heart. What do I need to do? Gather evidence of your character letters from your employer, witnesses who can vouch for your parenting. You have to make a stand. With each word, Jake felt his resolve strengthening, clinging to the vision of Emma and Tommy's happy faces. They deserved a future untouched by the turmoil of his past. I won't let her take them away from me. The messenger nodded, as if he'd seen this spark before. Then don't wait. The hearing is tomorrow. I'll help you with additional resources, but you need to act fast. Thank you, Jake said, his voice steadying. He felt a renewed sense of purpose swell within him, pushing aside the looming dread. As the man stood and prepared to leave, a sudden thought crossed Jake's mind. Wait, what is your name? The messenger paused at the door, a fleeting smile touching his lips as he glanced over his shoulder. You can call me Daniel. Good luck, Mr. Collins. With that, he was gone, leaving Jake staring at the empty doorway, something new bathed in the warmth of challenge. He touched the back of the chair, letting the weight of the conversation settle. Would he really rise up and fight for the life he wanted for them? Jake stepped back into the living room and faced Emma and Tommy, who were now playing quietly on the floor. Their laughter was like music, a sweet reminder of why he had to keep pushing forward. Then, the door creaked again. A shadow loomed against the wall before it opened. It was Emma, her little face peeking around the corner. Daddy, can we play dinosaurs now? She asked, eyes dancing with hope. Of course, sweetheart, he said, forcing a smile through the tidal wave of emotions raging inside him. But I want you to promise me something. What? That you'll always tell me your secrets, okay? Her grin widened as she nodded eagerly. Good. Because no matter what happens, our family is strong, and I'll always fight for us. As they built a world of dinosaurs together, a sense of peace mingled with the chaos in his mind. Would this fight bring down the walls or raise new ones? He couldn't shake the feeling that each decision would lead him deeper into a world of unexpected truths, truths that might change everything he thought he knew about fighting for family. What lay ahead would challenge him in ways he could never predict. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the living room as Jake played with Emma and Tommy. Their laughter echoed like a healing balm against the anxiety bubbling beneath the surface. He couldn't help but smile as he watched them roar like dinosaurs, their imaginations spilling into bright, vibrant worlds of adventure. But underneath his smile, doubt nagged at him. The urgent conversation with Daniel replayed in his mind, the weight of his words pressing down like a heavy fog. What if his past, buried deep, clawed its way back to haunt him when he least expected it? Just then, the phone rang, slicing through the momentary tranquility. Jake felt a jolt of unease. He hesitated and then picked up the receiver, heart racing. "Hello? Mr. Collins?" It was a voice he didn't recognize, smooth, but somehow condescending. "This is Linda, your ex-wife's lawyer. I need to discuss some matters regarding the hearing." "I'm busy right now," Jake replied, instinctively gripping the edge of the table, his knuckles whitening. "Busy? I assure you, this is important. We have some information that might interest you." Fury bubbled within him. What does she want? He took a deep breath, willing himself to stay calm. "I don't have time for games." "No games, Mr. Collins," she snapped back, her tone sharp. "Your ex-wife has evidence against you. And unless you'd like things to get messy, it would be wise to drop this custody battle." His heart thundered in his chest. Was that a threat? Did she really think he'd just step aside? "I will not drop anything. Those kids are my life." "Very well, but you've been warned." The line went dead, leaving Jake staring vacantly at the wall, a storm brewing inside him. "Daddy, are we still playing?" Emma's voice broke through, innocent and bright. He turned to see her and Tommy staring up at him, eyes wide with concern. "Of course," he managed to say, forcing his smile back into place. "Let us roar louder than the dinosaurs." They resumed their play, but Jake's mind was elsewhere. With every laugh, he felt a knot tightening in his stomach, and anger coursed through him like fire. He had to do something. When the kids finally settled down for the night, Jake sank into the couch, alone with his thoughts. He picked up a pen and paper, jotting down everything remarkable about his life, the job he loved, friends who stood by him, moments of joy with Emma and Tommy. Each word felt like tiny armor, protecting him from the oncoming storm. Then, the doorbell rang. It was late, but he felt a strange pull to answer it. His heart raced again as he opened the door. Standing there was Daniel, the messenger from earlier, holding a briefcase in hand. "Jake," Daniel said, eyes serious. "I've got some crucial resources for you. We need to go over them tonight." Jake's breath caught in his throat. "Why no? What has happened?" "There's been movement. I need you to understand the full scope of what's about to go down in that courtroom." Jake stepped aside, letting Daniel enter, anxiety gnawing inside him. What could he do in one night to prepare for the battle ahead? It felt like the tide was shifting, pulling him toward the fight he'd never wanted, but now had no choice but to face. "Tell me everything," Jake said, a fire igniting deep in his chest. "I'm ready to fight." As the door shut behind them, the reality of the battle loomed, heavy and unavoidable. What truths would surface? And what sacrifices would he have to make in the fight for his family? Those questions hung in the air, demanding answers he had yet to uncover. Jake's heart raced as he led Daniel to the living room, their shadows mixing on the wall like a storm brewing. The weight of the briefcase looked heavy in Daniel's hand, as if it contained not just papers, but also the fate of his family. "All right, what's in there?" Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper, trembling with a mix of anticipation and dread. Daniel set the briefcase down on the coffee table, the snap echoing like a gunshot in the quiet room. "We've got information about your ex. It changes everything." He opened the case and began to pull out documents, his brow furrowed in concentration. Jake leaned in, scanning the papers spread before him. Among them were bank statements, emails, and photographs that told a story he hadn't expected to see. His ex-wife, Karen, had been busy, and not in ways Jake had anticipated. He felt colors draining from the world around him as the implications settled in. "Daniel, what does this all mean?" He stammered, his fingers trembling on the edge of the table. "Karen's been hiding certain assets. These documents suggest she's had a significant amount of money that she claimed was non-existent," Daniel explained, flipping through the pages like he was revealing cards from a deck. "This might undermine her entire case against you." "It shows intent, Jake." Jake processed the information, a flicker of hope breaking through the fog of despair. "You mean she lied?" "Lied and manipulated. This could be the evidence we need to bolster your custody case." "But it's a double-edged sword," Daniel warned, a seriousness in his eyes that made Jake's stomach drop. "If this gets out, it could turn the court against not just her, but you too. The weight of Daniel's words sank in, and Jake's heart sank further. What do you mean? We need to be careful. If they find out this evidence came from you, it may paint you as vindictive, trying to sabotage your ex. We have to take a cautious approach. Jake gazed at the documents again, his mind spinning. But I can't just let her walk away with the kids. I want tea. The fire in his chest raged anew, a mix of anger and desperation boiling. Then we have to strategize, Daniel insisted. We'll confront her with this first and see how she reacts. It could lead to a settlement or at least give us leverage in court. Jake nodded slowly, absorbing the advice. This was it was go time. He had the chance to protect Emma and Tommy, to stop Karen's schemes, but the fear of the consequences still curled around his heart like a vice. He took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of determination. Let us do it. Let us go after it. As they mapped out their plan, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that every choice had a consequence. He imagined Emma and Tommy, their bright smiles turning into frowns if things went wrong. Jake, I need you to know, Daniel interrupted his thoughts. You're not just fighting for yourself here. It's about the kids. Keep that in mind. We'll navigate this together, but you need to stay strong. Tension radiated off him as he recalled their playful roars earlier that day. He could almost hear them echoing in the back of his mind, urging him on. Just when he thought he had his emotions in check, the doorbell rang again, the sound slicing through the heavy air. Who could that be? Jake wondered aloud, glancing at Daniel. Whatever you do, don't open it until we know what we're dealing with, Daniel cautioned, tension recocking the aim in the room. They both froze, the weight of secrecy hanging over them. Who was at the door? And more importantly, how would it affect Jake's fight for the kids? Jake's heart pounded as he stood frozen, the doorbell's chime still echoing in his ears like an ominous warning. Daniel glanced toward the door, his eyes narrowing, a shared understanding coursing between them, the weight of the unknown pressing down heavily. Anyone else at this door could tip the scales, Daniel whispered, his voice firm yet low. We have to be cautious. Jake swallowed hard, the realization settled heavy in his gut. Did Karen send someone? Was it her way of taunting him before the battle even began? Just wait, Jake said, gripping the back of the couch as he focused on the door. He felt his heart racing, each beat reminding him of his restless hope, the hope of saving his family. After a moment that felt like an eternity, the doorbell rang again, insistent and demanding. Jake could feel the walls of that moment closing in, the fear of uncertainty pushing against him like a tidal wave. Do you think we should check? Jake finally asked, the uncertainty flaring in his voice. Whatever was waiting for him outside could be an ally or an enemy. I think you should. Daniel nodded, tension rippling through him, but the resolve was clear. Just be cautious. I'll be right behind you. Taking a deep breath, Jake steeled himself and walked to the door. Each step felt monumental as he reached for the handle. Opening it could lay bare everything he had been trying to keep under wraps, exposing layers of his past he had fought to move beyond. But this was bigger than him. This was about defending Emma and Tommy. He cracked the door open, the light from the hallway spilling into the living room. To his surprise, standing there was Lucy, the family friend who had always been a lifeline for him in difficult times. Her concerned demeanor was obvious. She could sense the storm brewing around him. Jake, she exclaimed, her voice hushed. I heard about the hearing tomorrow. I couldn't just sit back. She stepped inside, brushing past him with a fierce determination, her presence a surge of warmth in the heaviness of the room. Lucy, you shouldn't have come, Jake began, but she interrupted. I had to. You're not alone in this, Jake. I'm here to stand by you. You need someone to back you up. It's about family. At her words, the tension in Jake's shoulders eased just a fraction, as if a sliver of light had cut through the clouds. Leaning against the wall, he saw the resolve in Lucy's eyes and felt a semblance of hope. Thank you, he said, his voice soft but earnest. But we're navigating a lot right now, Karen. I know, Lucy interrupted. I heard her lawyer is making waves. But you know the truth, Jake. You love those kids and you're willing to fight for them. That's what matters. Jake's heart swelled as he absorbed her unwavering belief. It reminded him of the laughter he shared with Emma and Tommy earlier. They were worth every ounce of effort and courage he could muster. "Here's the plan," Daniel interjected, redirecting the focus while the emotions simmered. "We have evidence against Karen, but we need a united front." He glanced at Lucy. "And if you're willing to support him, we need everything you can recall. Witness statements help improving Jake's character. We will face this together." Lucy nodded instantly, determination shimmering in her eyes. "You can count on me. I'll do whatever it takes." Reinforced by her strength, Jake felt embers of hope igniting further, their unity a light guiding them through uncertain waters. "I want to let her take them," he vowed quietly. As they strategized, Jake's heart fluttered with renewed purpose. The world felt bigger than just his struggle. It brimmed with potential, relationships tethered by love and support. Each detail discussed shifted the atmosphere, igniting a fire within him to uncover the truth. Their conversations turned into plans, laughter mingling with resolve, and soon the clock in the corner chimed, reminding them that tomorrow would bring battles, but also courage. The air felt electric as a sense of certainty permeated the room. When the night finally drew to a close, Jake sat back in his chair. He felt a sense of clarity washing over him, replacing doubt with the fire of preparedness. The past wasn't going to define him. He would face the truth head-on. "Tomorrow might change everything," he murmured, looking at Lucy and Daniel. "But we'll face it together." "Absolutely," Lucy said firmly. "Let us fight for your family, Jake," Daniel added, and for the first time in a long while, Jake felt the stirring of true power echoing in his heart. As they stood together, united by purpose, Jake looked around at the faces that shared in his burden. No matter how tough the road ahead might be, he knew he wouldn't have to walk it alone. Tomorrow awaited, a new dawn rising with the promise of truth and a chance to redefine his family's path. Would the truths exposed in that courtroom lead to healing, or would they unveil deeper wounds? Only time would tell. But one truth remained: love was worth fighting for, and he would never back down from that fight. Now, it's time to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the word. Comment your reactions and feelings about this emotional resolution. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful transformation. You need to subscribe now, because this is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of lifting each other up through these actions.